You are tuned in to the Dine Shop Play Texas podcast, powered by Speak Loud Local. Join us as we discover incredible places to dine, shop, and play all over Texas. Sit back and listen as we explore new places, hear their stories, and learn where they're headed next. This is the Dine Shop Play Texas podcast.
All right, you guys, welcome to another episode of the Dine Shop Play Texas podcast, powered by Speak Loud Local. I'm excited today, and it smells really, really good in here. We're in Arlington, Texas today at Hurtado BBQ, and I've got a couple of special guests with me. And because we're in Arlington, Texas, it only made sense. I don't know, I connect you to Arlington. So I have a special co-host today, and that is former Texas Ranger Kevin Mench. Kevin, I appreciate you doing this, man.
But hey, as soon as you mentioned food, I'm there.
Well, that's what I was thinking. I was like, I've had food with Kevin before, and I know that Kevin likes to eat. So I mean, why not? We're going out here to talk some barbecue. Speaking of barbecue, I have the owner of Hurtado BBQ right here. This is Brandon Hurtado. Brandon, I appreciate you taking some. I know y'all got a couple things going on.
Yeah, we've definitely been busy, that's for sure.
Got a couple things happening, which we'll get to some of that or whatever. But ideally, the reason we do this podcast is because we want to highlight unique and cool things around Texas that are dine, shop, play, from restaurants, bars, things to do with kids, shopping, all those fun things. And when I happen to see you roll across my Facebook, and I don't even know how, we know some of the same people, I think is how it happened. And I was like, I got to get this guy on. So I appreciate you making time to do this. But we'll just jump right in. I mean, obviously, we're going to talk about barbecue, but what we like to know and tell people about is, where did it start? I mean, obviously, you started somewhere. I'm only can assume that it was like in the backyard or something, but how did the entire concept, go from maybe cooking in the backyard to, now I want to open a restaurant. I want to actually serve this to people.
Yeah, it sounds cliche, but it really did start in my backyard. I've always had kind of a passion for food, not just for barbecue, but food in general, for making my own pasta and Tex-Mex food and whatnot. I like to eat, and so does my family. Growing up in a household where we had homemade tortillas every day and, refried beans and rice, and I grew up around food. So I've always had an affinity for it. Mm-hmm. I went to school to study digital marketing at UT Arlington. So that's kind of the why Arlington. But I started a digital marketing agency in 2015.
Okay.
And I went to a local brewery just to have a beer after work one day. Division Brewing. It's right across the railroad tracks from here off of Abram. Mm-hmm. And I was talking to the owner, and I was like, hey, man, I'd love to cook. I'd love to come out here one day and set up and sell food. He was like, you should do it. You should do it this weekend. And I was like, oh, wow, you're serious. So,
sure.
Yeah. I was like, oh, okay, yeah, we can make that work. So I came out and, did a barbecue taco pop-up, and one thing kind of led to another, and we were super busy. We didn't even have a name for it yet. And we kind of saw that there was a need for that in this area. There wasn't a whole lot of Tex-Mex barbecue, and
sure,
it worked really well. So we did that for about 8 months before we invested in a food trailer.
Okay.
I got on Craigslist and found a used food trailer. And
good old Craigslist, good for everything, right?
Man, yeah, that was the website back in the day. You could find anything you needed on Craigslist.
Exactly. Some things you probably didn't need.
Probably so. Yeah, it was like Target before Target.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so you went from, the pop-up events to the food truck. I mean, was it from just the success that you were seeing over at the brewery that, like, we've already need to expand this? I mean, kind of, I guess, walk through that just briefly. How did you make that transition of, now I've got to go spend money to get a food truck? And
yeah, it was more so my wife and I being tired of doing dishes in our bathtub.
Great reason.
Yeah, that'll usually do it to you.
Back in the old college days of doing stuff, right?
Exactly.
Whatever you could
sink, bathroom tub,
spray this down in the backyard. No, we were living in Argyle, Denton at the time, almost a ponder. So it was quite a drive for us to
making a hike
and then take everything to a brewery and set up.
Sure.
And then have to break down, do dishes. I mean, it was consuming our lives on the weekends at that point. And then I found this food trailer, and I was like, hey, this makes sense. It's not going to be a huge undertaking, until it was. And we spent about 4 or 5 months revamping this food trailer.
Sure.
and wrapping it and making it really nice inside and out. And then we opened our food trailer in March of 2019 at the same brewery.
Okay.
So we were one of the first restaurant/food trailers to have a permanent food trailer permit at a brewery in the city of Arlington. I think we were actually the first.
That's awesome.
So this is a special permit that they didn't issue to anybody else. We just wanted to set up there and have our electricity ready to go. And, the city issued us this kind of variance to allow us to do that. And I remember the first day that we opened, there were about 250 people in line waiting for us to open. The line was wrapped around the brewery. I mean, it was insane.
So I'm assuming the brewery loved you being there.
They did. Yeah, yeah, it was good.
Yeah, get the munch, start more beer, more food, and just continue to eat.
Yeah, it was a beautiful thing.
Exactly. So you have this food truck. I mean, and then right now, because everything's a step. That's a bigger step. So you said 2019. So 2020, you go brick and mortar. Now, how did that come about as far as from going from food truck to building?
Right. So after a few months of being in the food trailer, I got reached out to by a developer here in downtown Arlington, and he was like, "Hey, I've got this great building. It's right across the railroad tracks from you guys. Are you interested?" I was like, "Nah, I don't want to own a restaurant. Like, this is just for fun. I'm still doing marketing." And then we spent the month of August 2019 in the food trailer, and it was hot. We had no AC.
You're telling me summers in Texas are hot?
Oh my God.
Summers, winters, all of it.
It was rough. So I called him back like in September, and I was like, panting, sweating. And I was like, "Hey, you still got that building available?" He was like, "Yeah, you should come look at it." I was
Like, does it have AC?
Does it have AC? He's like, "It can." It sure can. So I was like, "All right, I'll come look at it." One thing led to another, and we signed a deal on that, started remodeling that fall, and then got ready to open February 2020.
Well, you know what? That's a great segue point to my next question. It's a great time to start a business, especially a restaurant, right?
Yeah, I have a knack for those things.
So another purpose of why we do this podcast is because the community loves hearing stories, but we also have business community that watches our podcast, and they like to hear these stories of like, how did you go from point A to point B to C? You guys had to make some adaptation, and you literally opened right when things started shutting down.
Yeah.
So what did you guys, there were some great things that COVID taught us, which it's sad to say that, but it's reality when it comes to business, retail, marketing, all those things. What did you guys, I guess, learn, or how did you adapt when you were like, we just spent all this money and now we're opening, and then wait a minute, people can't even come in?
Well, let me backtrack. So on our opening day here, we had about 450 people in line whenever we opened at 11 a.m. The line was wrapped around the street all the way to Division. There were people waiting in line. And I saw that, and then, we had a great day. My wife and I go home. We go to Torchy's Tacos, and that was like our favorite place to go in Denton to have a drink and grab some food. And we found out that night that we were having a baby.
Oh, wow.
And that was like, okay, well, number one, I probably should have only had 2 margaritas.
or 4. I mean,
Or 4, yeah.
Go either way.
But she told me that night, she was like, "Hey, I think we should take a test and see what's going on." And we found out that we were going to have a baby, and that like changed my mentality on barbecue and on entrepreneurship, because it was no longer about me.
Yeah.
It was about my daughter.
Yeah.
And that kind of lit this fire in me that, no matter what happens, we're going to be able to persevere and make it through, because it's not just about me anymore.
Right.
And then COVID hit a month later. We had to shut down a month after that. And this digital marketing experience and background that I have had already given me the know-how to set up online ordering for people that didn't want to wait in line. So it was more about a convenience. We're like, hey, if you don't want to wait in line, you can go on our website, you can pre-order, just come in and pick it up. Well, when we had to shut down and only do curbside, we were already doing that.
Yeah.
We were ready to go. So I think the first day that we had to shut down, a few other barbecue restaurants started laying people off. They were like, we don't know what we're going to do. We hired 4 pitmasters from a barbecue place in Deep Ellum that same day. And we were bringing people on, like our online sales were just through the roof.
Yeah.
So it really was a blessing in disguise. We already had these systems in place.
Sure.
We turned some of our staff into delivery drivers. We just turned this place into a to-go box.
Yeah.
And that's all we did, until we could have people come inside again.
Well, I think that's the adaptability for business in general, is that you were preparing even though you didn't know you were preparing. Yeah. But I think we always have those pivot points where things are going to happen in business. I don't care if it's a restaurant, digital marketing. I don't care what you do. You can be a hairstylist. Like, things can happen that are outside of your control, and you have to be able to just pivot and make those changes. And you have to.
The COVID shutdowns were not the worst thing that happened to us. The worst things that happened were the logistics part of it.
Sure.
Our food purveyors not having brisket, not having turkey, not having this, that, not having packaged goods, dry goods. that made it really difficult for us to run our business.
I bet.
I remember at one point during the summer of 2020, I was driving to Kroger, taking our employees, handing them all cash, and having them go in and buy brisket.
Just buy what you can get.
Yeah, because it was like limit 2 per person. We were buying whatever we could get.
Sure.
So we had to change up our menu and start carrying beef cheek and stuff like that and do barbacoa. We started doing barbacoa tostadas. And that's one of the most popular things on the menu now. But, you know, that's why we did that, was out of necessity.
Well, you clearly did something right, because it was what, 2022, you guys opened the next location, correct?
We did. So 21, we started planning on a second location, and that was in Little Elm up near Frisco. And we remodeled an existing space. It was much larger than the one that we're in now. It was almost 7,000 square feet. We set up a commissary kitchen there to make all of our sausage for this location. And around the same time that we opened Little Elm, I got reached out to by another barbecue restaurant in Fort Worth, and they're like, hey, we're going out of business. Wanted to see if you're interested. And it was like in the Magnolia area that I love, and I used to live there. So we ended up doing that and signed a lease there right as we opened Little Elm. So we had a lot going on
for sure
in summer of 2022. But Little Elm was great during the summertime. We were really, really busy. We had lines out the door, long waits. We had a lot more space to accommodate people, full bar. So it was a little different than what we're used to here, just in terms of the amount of bodies that we needed to make that place run. But unfortunately, in the fall of 2022, things just really tapered off. I mean, it took a drastic decrease in business, and we had to close doors in February of this year in 2023.
Yeah.
We just made an executive decision. You know, we had a really bad water leak in 2022.
Yeah.
Back in December, it froze, and all of our pipes in our ceiling burst and collapsed an entire room where we did all of our prep, flooded the entire restaurant with customers in there.
Oh, no.
This is right before Christmas Eve. And people are on TikTok and Snapchat, and they're like trying to film water just rushing in the dining room. And we're like, please, you guys got to go. So,
And stop filming.
Stop filming, please, for the love of God. It was embarrassing. But I was actually here in Arlington, and I raced over there because they were like, hey, you need to get here now.
Yeah.
And I look on the cameras, and the first thing I see is just water collapse the entire ceiling in the prep room on top of all of our meat and everything. I mean, it was bad.
That's we talk about. I mean, it's the life of business, though. Like, it's don't let this discourage you, but it's just the way it happens. I mean, things happen, and you have to make those executive decisions, and sometimes they're just looking you in the face, and you can't avoid it.
One thing that my wife and I always tell each other is, if we can make it through COVID, we can make it through anything.
Yeah.
And that's honestly been the truth. I mean, we've had so many curveballs thrown at us, and you just got to roll with the punches and keep going. You know, and if you want it bad enough, then there's nothing that the city or the community or an act of God can throw at you that you can't make it through.
Yeah. Well, what is your, I mean, it sounds like a few of them, you know, I don't want to say fell in your lap, right? We know there's all of the work that goes into it, but when you guys are looking, let's just take the Fort Worth location, for example, when you're looking for a new location or considering a new location, what's the thought process that goes through your head? I know a lot of businesses, they're, you know, looking at traffic counts, they're looking at different things. What are there are certain factors that are most important to you guys?
Yeah. So Little Elm had amazing traffic. They're in the middle of downtown, right off of El Dorado, ton of traffic, a lot of cars going through there, great visibility. Unfortunately, that didn't make the ultimate impact in our business. And so we learned from that. And moving forward, we know that we need to be in a community that is business centric, that has local businesses where people are getting off on lunch and they're able to go grab food, you know, during their lunch break. That's great here in Arlington. We have a huge number of young working professionals that come in for lunch.
Sure.
And then for dinner time, we're now open until 9 o'clock. We're able to serve the people that are getting off at 5 o'clock and want to come grab food with their kids.
Yeah.
But you got to have local businesses. And for us in Fort Worth, that's the hospital district, right? So we have 4 major hospitals surrounding our business. We're always busy for lunch. We serve breakfast there too. We're open at 7 a.m., 7 days a week there. So we're trying to adapt with each location based on the community that we're in to best serve their needs.
Okay. Like with UTA right here as well, you know, you talk about the foot traffic that you get. You know, you were talking about the locations. You know, speaking of your newest location, I mean, you're here in Arlington. Where else better to be than?
Yeah.
So you want to talk about how that whole process came about?
Sure. So last season, the Texas Rangers launched an initiative called Arlington Eats, and that basically partnered for local businesses, small businesses, restaurants and bakeries and whatnot to serve food in the ballpark in Globe Life Field. And so we kind of rotated home series on the weekends, and we started out opening day last season. It was insane. You know, we were cooking food here and taking it to the ballpark and selling it there. We'd sell it by like the second or third inning, and it was great, but people were waiting like 2-3 hours in line to get food before the game starts whenever the gates open. And then some people weren't getting food. And, you know, it was a really cool experience, but I felt like we were really underserving the fans of the Texas Rangers. So we went through last season. It was great. And then Rob Matwick gave me a call. He's the executive vice president of business operations for the Rangers. He called me at the end of the season. He was like, "Hey, we need to get together and talk." And I was like, "Oh God, what did we do?" Like,
It's not good.
Yeah, it's not good. We left a bunch of briskets in the freezer or something. But he was like, "You guys killed it this season, and we want to see how we can make you a part of Globe Life Field and the Texas Rangers permanently." And that was amazing. I mean, from having started this in my backyard to hearing something like that, it makes all the hard work and all the hoops you got to jump through worth it. So we ended up meeting with their sponsorship team, and we signed a multi-year sponsorship deal with the Rangers. We're now the official barbecue restaurant of the Texas Rangers as of this season in 2023. And we have our own permanent stand located inside Globe Life Field at Section 101. So it's very close to the Arlington Eats stand, but we have our own signage, really big LED signage, and you know, our own staff there. They're providing the staff and everything with Delaware North, who's been amazing to work with. And the coolest thing about our stand is that we cook everything there inside the ballpark.
Oh, that's cool.
The Rangers have 2 massive rotisserie smokers, similar to the one that we have here in Arlington and our Fort Worth location. And we cook there every week for every homestand, and we don't run out of food. So if we need more food, I just call back down. We've got a supply of briskets that we've cooked, and they bring them back up to the stand for us. We serve beef ribs at every single homestand. I don't know of any other ballpark in the nation that serves monster Texas-style beef ribs. We have brisket elote, brisket nachos, brisket sandwiches, and we are, in fact, the only barbecue stand at Globe Life Field where you can walk up and ask for a sliced brisket sandwich. You know, we have whole briskets there, and we can just cut it right off for you. So it's very similar to what we do here in the restaurant. And we also serve birria tacos, which, if you're not familiar with those, we serve them here in the restaurant. It's probably one of our most popular items. They're quesadilla tacos, which is like braised brisket that we chop up, and we serve it inside of a corn tortilla with melted cheese, salsa, and it's got a little bit of cilantro and onion, and then we crisp it on both sides.
Are you hungry yet?
Yeah, I'm still waiting for my plate to show up. I mean, I see, as I look, if you just turn around right now, DJ,
What's happening?
it is. So I mean,
They got burn ends on the board right there. That's meat candy.
That's yeah, exactly. That's the stuff that anything that's over there, just
roll it out.
That's what I mean. We should just gone through the line. You could explain it
Exactly. As we're eating.
As we're eating. That's the only way, right? To really dive into what you're doing.
It was kind of crazy because I talked to Jared Sandler, and you know, during the opening weekend, he was like, "How much beef did y'all go through?" And I went back and I asked Chef Derek, and we went through the numbers, and we actually sold about 4,500 pounds of beef opening weekend. And I think we went through like 800 birria tacos a game.
Wow.
It was insane. So we were busy. And it has not slowed down by much, if anything. We've actually beat our numbers from opening day twice already.
That's insane.
So
That's just at the ballpark, which is
Just at the ballpark.
2 miles, not even 2 miles from here. So I mean, it's so I'm be interested to see if you get a line one day stretching from here to the ballpark. Waiting.
That'd be kind of cool. I mean, that's got to be like some kind of world record or something. I mean,
The longest barbecue line, like
set
have a
the
Congo
cameras,
line. Yeah,
drone,
Good
like
idea. I like that.
right. That
like
could
a
be
parade.
That's gonna be our next little segment. You can have it all set
Yes,
up. That
absolutely.
Interview people, right? Because hell, there's a bunch of bars between here and there. I'm sure everybody can have
Oh, absolutely.
have going on and whatnot. So,
Yes, have some sidewalk parties.
yeah. So you go like you talk about now the involvement with the team. You've been around the team for a while, and let's talk about this Arlington Life Shelter throughout the community. Explain that a little bit to people.
Yeah, so the reason why we initially were able to partner with the Rangers is because of a tweet that I sent to Taylor Hearn a few years back on Twitter. You know, I've kind of been following him since his Royce City days, and the fact that he was pitching for the Rangers was amazing. And then I saw how involved he was with the community. So I reached out to him one day on Twitter. He responded. We kind of started texting back and forth. And then I saw that he messaged me one day asking for a catering for the bullpen. And I was like, yeah, no problem. We can do that. So we got to cater for them. And that's kind of how we made the introduction to the team. Well, Taylor and I became friends after that, and he has asked me 2 or 3 times now to help out every Christmas at the Arlington Life Shelter. We donate food, and the players go and they serve it to the residents at the Arlington Life Shelter. And last fall, it was really cool because the owners of the Rangers were there serving our food. And so that was pretty unique, and not just the players that are there, but when you have the ownership involved, and obviously they care about the community that they're involved in. So
Sure.
that was pretty neat. And we just try and find ways to be active in the community beyond that. Our law enforcement, we're big supporters of our law enforcement here in Arlington and Fort Worth. They do not pay when they come in. We take care of their meal if they order like a sandwich combo that's comped, or they get that discounted off their ticket. So we try and give back as much as we can. During COVID, we had a big food drive here, and we gave away meal kits to people. We partnered with Benny Keith at the time, and I think we gave away like 400 meal kits to people that were in need, that had lost their jobs or whatever, and each one of them was enough food for a week. So that was pretty neat.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. No, it's cool to hear. I mean, that's the stories that we want to tell. I saw that about you guys, and I was like, oh, that's just cool. I mean, that to be able to partner, not only partner with the Rangers to do that they do what they do, but then, local business being involved in that. And I think every city, town, whatever you want to call it, should take from that, and how you can partner with local businesses. There are plenty of businesses out there that want to do things in the community. Sometimes businesses don't have the connections. They don't know the right people. They don't know the direction to go. They don't know how to get started. They know that they could make a contribution in some form or fashion, whether it's food or service or money, but sometimes they don't know where that money's most needed. So I think that's very cool that they're doing that.
Yeah, last fall, my wife, it was like last July, we have 3 kids now, and it was
3 locations, 3 kids. Okay, I see a trend.
Yeah, no mas, no more kids, no more location. No, she has a lot of friends who are teachers. And we live in Argyle ISD, and it's expensive to be a teacher.
Sure,
you got to front all these costs for supplies, and she was like, "Hey, we need to try and buy supplies for teachers as much as we can." Yeah. So we kind of put our heads together, and last summer we did a donation for teachers, and we're like, "Hey, if you need supplies, tell us what you need, send us your Amazon wish list, and we're going to buy as much of it as we can." So we ended up buying I think 100 different teachers their full Amazon wish list.
That's super cool,
which was really neat.
That's awesome.
And that that meant a lot, and we had a lot of those teachers come into the restaurant and support us and their families. So it's just it's full circle.
Yeah, no, I fully believe in that. We do some similar things. I'm in Wiley, and we do some similar things in Wiley. Is that it's just, my kids are in the ISD, they're getting lifted up by those teachers every day, and I know what some of those teachers go through. I like to believe that my kids are well behaved at all times, but we all know the reality that they're not. And we know teachers teachers put up with a lot. They put up a lot with, there's not all kids are that way maybe, but just in general, they don't get paid nearly enough. We all know that. But then, like you said, they're responsible for their own shopping list, and if they want to decorate the room, and a lot of times that's what captures those kids. We had one teacher, we donated like a LED lights and a disco ball and different things that they use as an incentive. It's an award. It's like a dance party thing that they do to keep the kids engaged. And a lot of times these teachers don't have the funds to be able to do that. So again, business community stepping up to do something like that. So that's awesome, man.
Absolutely.
Well, you already kind of alluded to it, but I'm going to ask the question anyways. Do you have any future plans? Any future locations? Do we need to call the Astros? Like, do we have any?
Yeah, if we do something, it definitely won't be in Houston, but.
Do you have any trash cans? Oh, okay. Probably
exactly. There you go. All right. If we were to do something next, I would really like to look at Dallas.
Okay.
I'd like to be in Dallas. I have Jamie Adams. He's a good friend of mine. He's been a realtor to a lot of the Texas Rangers players. Yeah. He helped Nolan Ryan buy his house and Pudge Rodriguez, and he's just very intertwined in the community.
Sure.
So we're looking at a few different places, and we would like to be in Dallas at some point next year.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah.
Be awesome. Well, I'll call Cuban. I mean, I'm sure he knows somebody.
Sure.
I don't know Cuban. Mark, if you watch this, I mean, just reach out to Brandon.
Holler. Tweet me. That's how things start.
That's apparently right.
Yeah.
Just said, I'm gonna start tweeting everybody, Kevin. That's what I'm gonna
That's
start
what you
doing.
can do. So, right, it's just you're chumming the water. Somebody would have to take a bite.
You're real big on
Exactly.
TikTok, right?
Not a clue how to even use it.
Make sure you follow Kevin on TikTok.
Yeah, it just shows. I don't post anything. I have no idea what's on there, but it just people. Oh, yep, there's somebody else. I must be.
Why not? It's just hey, people are making your shirts. You know, I mean, might as well have the TikTok going. It's hilarious. But wrapping up, I always like to ask a couple of like closeout questions. You know, if people, what's something that maybe people don't know? We've talked a lot about kind of how you got started in the backyard, the tweet. Like those are all probably cool things. Not everybody knows, but is there something that comes to mind that people may not know about you guys, about the restaurant, the story, anything like that that you think, oh, okay, yeah, no, people probably don't know that.
Well, one thing that people may not know is that we just partnered with the 4 Sixes Ranch.
There you go.
The 4 Sixes Ranch is a historic ranch in Guthrie, Texas. It's been around for about 150 years. And the people that do know it probably saw it on the TV show Yellowstone. I was reached out to by a buddy of mine, Levi, who is the executive chef for Taylor Sheridan, who's the creator of Yellowstone. And he asked me to go out there and cook with them a few months ago. So I got to cook for the cast of Yellowstone.
That's really
which
neat.
is really, really cool. After that, Taylor Sheridan came by like 2 a.m. while we were cooking briskets and was like, I want you to carry my beef. And I thought he was just kidding. But here we are several months later, and we're now the exclusive barbecue restaurant for the 4 Sixes Ranch. So all of our brisket and beef ribs come from the 4 Sixes now. And I got to go cook for their Cowboys last week, which was amazing. It's like a
neat.
different world.
Saw those pictures, big trailer out there. It was awesome looking.
It was amazing. It was really cool. And those Cowboys are up early in the day, and I got to have coffee with them at like 4 a.m.
Like real cowboys. Like you didn't go buy a hat for
no.
$60 at Boot Barn. Like
Yeah.
these are real cowboys.
I got to meet one of their Cowboys. His name's Boots O'Neill, and he's 91 years old. Still gets on a horse every day. Still rides.
Wow.
And he has some stories. It
Oh,
was
I'm
pretty cool.
sure. I can only imagine.
Yeah, he's one of the oldest living Cowboys in the state of Texas.
Wow.
It was pretty.
Just to
neat.
sit down with that guy.
Yeah.
With a name like Boots, I mean, he earned it somewhere.
Oh, for sure.
Right.
You know, I don't even know. I'm picturing like a Young Guns type of thing here.
It absolutely
type
could
of
be.
theme, right? He could have been.
Yeah.
Heck, maybe it could be.
Like
could
him
be
being
Billy,
out-
could be Billy the Kid.
Him
Yeah.
being out
He
there
knows
and
where
then
the bodies are buried.
Yeah.
Oh,
exactly.
he knows some things for sure.
Exactly.
I can only imagine a guy like that, like all the Cowboys being out there and watching them shoot Yellowstone, and be like, "This is not real.
Yeah.
This is not how this works."
Well, I think one of the first things that they told Taylor was, we don't want to Hollywood our ranch whenever he bought the 4 Sixes Ranch.
Yeah,
And he hasn't.
that's awesome.
He hasn't.
Stuck true to it.
He pays homage to everything that they do. And, for us to be able to go out there and cook for them, that's a treat.
Oh,
They-
absolutely.
They're not having to eat beans. And
Whatever they do,
Yeah.
off the land,
we did cook beans for them, but they were good, I promise.
they weren't their normal beans.
They weren't normal beans, no.
No, that's awesome. And another question we always like to ask as well: everyone seems to need great people at any given time. I know you're opening locations and different things like that. Are you guys hiring right now? If so, which locations? What are you looking for?
We are hiring. We're looking for a line cook in Fort Worth,
Okay.
and maybe a cashier. We have great people.
Yeah.
We're really, really blessed. We have great people.
I'll apply for a food taster.
Come on now.
Oh, Kevin needs a link. He needs a link to just quality test is what he's
There you
looking
go.
for.
Exactly. That's all I'm
Make
about.
that work.
I'll be his assistant.
Yeah. There you go.
I'll get whatever he decides he doesn't want.
We have great people. I mean, we do not have a lot of turnover here, thankfully, which
Yeah.
is very rare for the restaurant industry. A lot of the people that we have were here day one.
I think it says a lot about you guys.
It's
I mean,
created a family type of
Yeah.
of business style where
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
right where everybody. I mean, if there's an issue, somebody's not afraid to say anything to you. But hey, Brandon, is it
Yeah.
okay? As opposed to, I don't know if I should say anything.
when you get that
Public-
different feel, and
Yeah.
not to take any shots at any corporate restaurants or anything that are out there. I mean, but it's just reality.
You can take shots. It's okay.
Okay, all right. We'll just start naming them. We'll tag them in this.
Yeah.
No, but there's just not that same environment
Yeah.
here. You walk in the door, and if they have an issue and they've kind of taken it up their chain of command, and they maybe haven't had an answer, or they still don't feel comfortable with the answer, like they get to come talk to you.
Yeah.
And I don't even know you well enough to know, but just from what you just told me, you're the type of person that receives that information.
Well, I'm here every day.
Yeah.
And I think
It's not like you can hide from them.
that's the first step in it, is that I'm here, I'm involved, I'm invested. Like I care about the food that makes it on those trays. I care about the people that are making the food.
Yeah.
And you got to start with the people first, because if they're happy, then you're going to have good food.
Yep.
Your customers are taken care of. And that's kind of the model that we live by. We have this bottom-up approach to leadership, and we want the ideas and whatnot to come from them so that we can implement them. We're not just here dictating, hey, this is how things are going to go. We want their input on,
A lot of times
hey,
those-
how can we make this better?
Those frontline workers too, from a cashier, from a food prep to cook to anything like that, they're the ones that see the problems first sometimes.
Yep.
And a lot of times they're not heard. They don't get to provide their input. They just sit and watch it fall apart and go, that's not my job, because last time I tried to say something, I got shut down.
Yeah.
So the fact that you are open and listen, it says a lot that you've had some of the same people that are here and you don't have a ton of turnaround.
Right.
But that's awesome. You need some folks over at Fort Worth. That's what you need.
Yeah, I think so. It's a newer location, and we do have some great hires that we've made recently. I'm really happy with the way that location's going. We just need a little bit extra help. We're super busy right now. So.
Awesome. That's good stuff. This is the question I always like to ask, kind of close things out. And it's one that makes you think a little bit, but you've already dropped a few nuggets on us. Based on your story, from backyard to pop-up to truck to multi-restaurant, if you could give a single piece of advice to entrepreneurs out there, business community that's listening, based on your experience, what would that single piece of advice be?
Well, that's a little hard to answer, but I think the first thing for me as a Christian has been to put God first.
Yeah.
I'm super thankful. I give all the glory for our success to the Lord. He's kind of led everything that we've done. It gives me chills because it's true. You know, he's been involved in everything that we do. And we honestly wouldn't be here right now if it wasn't for a lot of prayer.
Yeah.
But I think beyond that, put your people first and remember to pay yourself. You know, if you're an entrepreneur and you're out there trying to live a normal life and get finance for a home, get finance for a vehicle, you have to have W-2 income to be able to prove that. And it's really hard to get finance for those things without that. So
For sure.
one of the first things that I did once we could afford to do it was make myself an employee and make sure that I get a W-2 every year. So,
Yeah. It's important.
Yeah.
From the backyard to the ballpark. There you
I
go.
like that.
That's
It's a good
good.
T-shirt idea.
That's really good.
You're welcome.
I think you found your
10%, please.
you found your taste tester apparently, because that's
There
enough
you
to
go.
get you
That's
hired.
all you got to do.
Kevin's been waiting to say that. I saw him.
He-
The wheels came up, and he talked about the backyard part, and I went, "Hey, backyard, perfect. Look at
That's really good. I'll give you the address. You can ship out some shirts. I'll let you know. It's no big deal.
That's perfect.
Brandon, I appreciate. I know you're a busy man. I appreciate you taking your time out. Obviously, want to encourage people to come check you out. If you have not been to any of the locations, you've got the Arlington. We're going to tag you guys in the post, but you can come out to the Arlington location, Fort Worth. Obviously, if you're visiting the ballpark, which is very cool. I was there just a couple of weeks ago while we were already chatting, and I'm sitting first base side looking across the outfield, and I see that sign over there, and I'm like, that's just cool. And you had a line. I mean, you did have a line, but it was moving.
Yeah.
It was moving, but it was very cool to see. So I just really appreciate you taking some time out of your schedule.
Absolutely.
I have to thank Kevin too as well. If you're a fan of Kevin, I mean, not just the TikTok, but Kevin, you're a host of a podcast as well. You want to plug that while we're sitting here? I'd love for
Big
people
Head
to listen.
Pod.
Big Head Pod.
Big
Where's
Head
that
Pod.
at?
On the Dub Network.
Dub Network.
Dubtalks.com.
Easy to find.
We're all over the place.
What do you talk about?
Anything and everything.
TikTok. I'm stuck on it, man. Now, what do you guys talk about?
Anything and everything. My guest this week was the great Tony Beasley.
Oh,
Wow.
So Beezer's on there talking about God and faith, and dealing with what he's dealing with. So, everybody, like you talk about today, everybody has a story.
Yeah.
That's what I try and just this kind of conversation, stuff you can't really Google.
Right.
That's what it is. The home, the family type of feel, and the questions they ask, and that's all it's about. It's just having fun and just seeing. So, and they'll be excited about next week's guest as well. So, get a chance, check it
You want
out.
to tease that, or are you not allowed to? Or don't.
I could.
Okay, no.
I'll
Make
make a little bit of
suspense.
a teaser. Yes, a little bit of a tease. He's one of 5 brothers.
Okay.
They played in the NFL.
Okay.
Oh,
So-
cool.
That's a good tease.
Very cool.
I like
That's
that.
a great tease.
Yep.
Well, I have to thank you guys as well. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for watching. Again, we're going to tag all of your locations. We'll make sure we tag the Dub Network. We'll tag the podcast as well, that we can go check out Kevin Mench. But we appreciate you guys watching, and we will see you next time. Thanks for watching.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for tuning in to the Dine Shop Play Texas podcast. Make sure you like and subscribe on all platforms. See you next time.